On Lagos Television. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the show. I am Abimbola Bello.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Abimbola. Thank God it's Friday, and I am Adibimpe Omotayo.
Absolutely. Of course, Joy won't be here today. The other side of town
That's one of the
is on a
disadvantages
lockdown this morning. And for those actually planning a trip, I don't know how you're going to survive later in the afternoon, but perhaps it should be better around that time. For the road safety to even advise that please look for alternative routes. It means that this one, the handshake has actually passed.
It's gone beyond the hands.
Yes, and according to reports, the multiple accident, and the first one was recorded at about past 12 midnight, and then subsequent ones, and it just shows that sometimes the day that our roads decides to just be funny, it will just defy all odds. It will defy all attention and everything. And when you see the magnitude of the accident, sometimes you ask yourself, was this tanker driver or this truck driver slipping?
Sometimes it happens like that.
And sometimes, you just, is it the state of the road? Or what exactly? No. Is it over speeding or snail speeding?
What is the state of the road?
I don't know.
There's nothing
because
wrong with that
I saw that truck, that particular one that first happened, and it overturned, and they had to start pulling all the goods in it. I can't even know if it's sugar or cement or something.
Yeah. So they were in sacks.
Yes, in sacks. And you ask yourself, was he sleeping? At what? I don't really know. Sometimes the way that road is, and sometimes the way things happen, you just ask, what went wrong? Was it a case of, was it something that could have been avoided? Because I really can't tell. And sometimes it's as bad as once it happens, some drivers they run away.
That was where I wanted to take the story, the report from the one you're talking about, because when these things happen, I always ask who bears the brunt aside the owner of the truck, because I think there are many stakeholders. We have a driver, we have the owners of the owner of the goods. We have the owners of the goods. So who
I remember
bears most
that
of
at
the
a particular
brunt?
time in Lagos when the Otedola Bridge was becoming just too prone to accident. The Lagos State government said all the people involved will bear the brunt, especially the truck owners. Because if the truck is yours, then it behoves on you to ensure that the person driving is always at their best behavior. Because again, sometimes you realize that sometimes these guys are not at their best. They are either tired and they want to run 2 trips, or they are high.
Or high, yes.
Or they are carrying above what the truck can also carry.
Or just simply reckless.
So all of these things also need to be looked into. I think, again, if you look at the purview of where this happened, it probably is in Ogun State. And so maybe the Ogun State government also needs to take very decisive measures at ensuring that, if the truck driver is alive, if he does not sustain injuries, you must find him.
Where will you find him?
But then
he ran away.
Yes, he ran away. But I'm sure some people must have stood for him when he got the job.
Are you sure?
They will produce him. I'm sure they do that.
They go through all this due process.
Because again,
they run away, go and join another company and start driving again.
So what's the probability that whatever he does here, he will not perpetrate elsewhere? If all the due diligence weren't done when he was engaged. I think they need to start having those conversations. It's very important. Anyway, Adebimpe and I are here this morning to help you start your weekend on a beautiful note. And we intend to do that today. But let's start by taking our news points this morning. I'll take the first one here. Tinubu restructures Nigerian army. And that story, of course, broke yesterday. And it says President Bola Tinubu, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has approved the expansion of the Nigerian Army structure from 8 to 12 divisions, a landmark move to enhance the country's security architecture and improve the operational effectiveness of the Nigerian Army. This approval underscores the President's unwavering commitment to equipping the armed forces to address Nigeria's evolving security challenges effectively and to strengthen national defense capabilities further. The expansion builds on the administration's sustained investments in the armed forces, including approval for the recruitment of 28,000 additional personnel, acquisition of critical military platforms and equipment, improvement in troops' welfare, and ongoing support for operational readiness and force modernization. Under the new structure, the Nigerian Army will operate 12 divisions strategically positioned across the country as follows. Division headquarters, Kaduna. Kaduna, of course, it will cover Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, and Jigawa State. Division 2 headquarters, Ibadan, will cover Oyo, Osun, Ekiti, and Ondo states. Division 3 headquarters, Jos, will cover Plateau, Bauchi, and Gombe State. Division 4 headquarters will cover Makurdi, that is Benue, Nasarawa, and Kogi State. 5 Division headquarters, Port Harcourt, will cover Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River State. Division 6 will be in Maiduguri and cover Borno and Yobe State. Division 7 will be in Sokoto and cover Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara State. Division 8 will be in Ilori and cover Kwara and Niger State. Division 9 will be in Jalingo and cover it will cover Taraba and Adamawa State. Division 9, 81 Division headquarters, of course, that is in Lagos, and it will cover Lagos and Ogun State. 82 Division headquarters will be in Enugu to cover Enugu, Anambra, Abia, Ebonyi, and Imo State. And Division 83 will be in Benin City and cover Edo, Delta, and Bayelsa State. The establishment of new divisions in Makurdi, Ilorin, Jalingo, and Benin City will significantly improve command and control, decentralize operational decision-making, strengthen border security, enhance the protection of critical national infrastructure, improve counter-insurgency and internal security operations, and ensure faster military response to emerging threats nationwide. That's the thrust of the story this morning, and like we've heard, 4 new divisions have been added to the structure of the Nigerian Army, and for me, it means that government is actually now being more alive to the security challenges of Nigeria and ensuring that at least all major divisions or major zones in the country are covered and they have army signals. Because again, sometimes you hear things like, we do not have a signal here. We must wait for the nearest place to connect before we can have a signal. So I think this is coming at such a good time. And the fact that Mr. President has also agreed that more personnel be employed and be deployed to these places. So it now behoves on, the leadership of the Nigerian Army to ensure that the recruitment exercise is free, fair, open. To those who are able, to apply, because I know that it's also very rigorous, before you are even considered in the first place, before you attend all the trainings, before you're deployed. Nigeria at the moment needs all the good hands that we can get, and all the hands that are trainable, because again, sometimes we realize that these guys, some of them are not very well lettered when they go to apply. This might also be a reason for them not to, be shortlisted. But at this particular point in time, they need to look at all the criteria and see those who actually have the love for their country at heart.
You said it from the beginning that, it's not looking like the government is serious in fighting insecurity in Nigeria. Gone are the days when we used to talk about, we didn't have enough weapons, we didn't have enough personnel. 28,000 more personnel will be brought into the army. And again, I'll say kudos, especially when we're in the era of accolades for Mr. President. So I'll add to it again. Kudos to Mr. President on this new reforms in the Nigerian Army. So I'll take my story now. Reps pass state police bill as opposition lawmakers stage walkout. The House of Representatives has passed a constitutional alteration bill seeking to establish state police after 311 lawmakers voted in support of the proposal, meeting the constitutionally required two-thirds majority. However, the passage sparked protests from members of the minority caucus who staged a walkout, alleging that due process was not followed during consideration of the bill. The Deputy Speaker, who is the chairman of the House Committee on Constitutional Review, Benjamin Kalu, led the consideration of the report and urged members to support the bill. The House then proceeded to electronic and virtual voting on the bill, where 311 members of the House voted in favor of the bill, meeting the two-thirds majority required for a constitutional alteration. The minority caucus disagreed with the procedure adopted for the passage of the bill. Led by Minority Leader Mr. Fred Agbeji, the opposition members staged a walkout. Following this, the Minority Caucus addressed a news conference stating its support for the bill, but pointing out what it described as breaches of the Constitution and the standing orders of the House. Meanwhile, the chairman of the House Committee on Defense, Mr. Babajimi Benson, defended the process. The House also passed the bill to establish the Federal College of Fisheries, Technology and Marine Engineering in River State. Yeah, I saw the story last night. And I was like, what other requirements, are there to be met constitutionally when the two-thirds majority were met? Well, I think most of the ground was that it was the process before the voting that was not properly conducted, according to the opposition.
Well, the opposition will always be opposition. And sometimes I think that, like we always say, politics must also be devoid of personal interest. You must also begin to look at the national interest here. Yeah. And we do know that, of course, this bill had been before them before now. At some point, they all agreed that they were going to adopt the bill from the executive and jettison that of, the one they were working on. That was agreed. Nobody staged a walkout at that time. So why was there a walkout at the point where it was to be passed? And so even if, there were things that were not done the way, maybe not following house rules and all of that, then it behoves on you to stay and iron things out. Why walk out? At the end of the day, your walking out will still not make a difference.
And they even contradicted themselves yesterday. That's the Minority Caucus. They said they are in support of state police. But they did not like the process.
Which process? Which process? So you agree that, yes, you are for something, and then you raised some processes. Why did you keep quiet while all of the other issues were ongoing?
And they had
Why
voted.
Are these... Exactly. All of these things had been done. Yeah. It was just, awaiting the final ratification before the members, and then you staged a walkout. Was it that you now thought? Was it an afterthought? Because sometimes, I don't understand how these things happen.
You said it now. Opposition will always be opposition. They must always have...
But they must act.
They must always find something to say.
Anyway, whether or not they staged a walkout, but the bill has been passed. So at the end of the day, I really do not know what that stage out will amount to much later on. Well, those are the stories we have this morning. Let's go on to the X platform this morning to take a look at one of the many trending stories. There are actually many stories trending on that platform this morning. But today was staying with the incidents that occurred yesterday in Enugu, at the Benin airport, when an Enugu aircraft overshot the runway while landing at the Benin airport. The good news, however, is that the 68 passengers and crew members were safely evacuated and no casualties were recorded or injuries reported during that incident. But again, like we always say, this will always call for questioning as to what happened. Even though, of course, there will be an investigation But for me, I think that this must have, maybe it's probably a weather thing. You know, the weather has been quite funny in the last few days. You even don't know when it's going to rain. You don't know when it's cloudy. It's not an excuse really for an accident to have occurred, but there are times that when these things, you know, might not just be such accident, you might not just be able to control it. Or maybe this was the best form of control that could have averted loss of lives or a total crash from this incident. But we do hope that in days to come, the AIB will release its investigation report, and perhaps it will also help the airline to be able to take more safety precautionary measures going forward. But honestly, things like this are scary when you see them, and then of course many questions will just keep going in your head. What if it was you know, a total crash and no one came out alive? So I'm sure this is where the God factor will always come to play, where a lot of people yesterday would have. I'm sure some people will definitely give testimonies in church on Sunday as to how they were able to come out alive during this particular incident when the airline, Enugu Air, overshot the runway at the Benin airport yesterday.
Yes, it was raining. The word accident is called accident. It is not predictable. It happens. Yes, weather conditions, and you know, I just feel sorry for Enugu Air, because I think they just started this airline last year. I remembered when they celebrated. It was about a year.
It's not up to a year.
Yeah, okay, just about a year ago. Just about a year ago. And, you know, this happened. And, you know, when I watched and listened to some of the, should I call them victims?
Well, they are.
When I listened to them, there was a particular guy who was like, you know, he would have died. They would have just been, you know, circulating his obituary today, that he had never ever thought he would experience a plane crash. Blah, 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 blah. There was another woman who was not on the plane who said, oh, that's now that they have a functional airport, that all the bush
should have been cleared.
Maybe that was why.
Well, so I mean, if the plane had landed where it should have landed, nobody would have seen the bushes
the bush
or the overgrown. Exactly. So I mean, that's understandable. But because I mean, it overshot the runway, so instead of seeing bush, just be seeing your life before you. You are still seeing bush.
She wasn't even on the plane.
Can you imagine?
I said, oh, she was sure it was because of the bush. Oh. The pilot could not see.
Which
that was why he entered the bush. I said,
oh my God. Oh my. It is well.
Thank God.
Anyway,
thank God no lives were
lost, right? Of course, like we said, the airline also needs to look beyond, you know, what happened. Could it also have been, you know, something, you know, that went wrong with the crew member, with, you know, the pilot or something? You know, these things just need to be, you know, just looked thoroughly to avoid issues that touch their heart, so that, you know, people will also not deliberately start avoiding Enugu Air. You know how we are as Nigerians. But it's so that it will not be a case of bad markets.
Do you know something, Abimbola? In as much as I don't like water, do you know I don't like flying?
So what do you like? Road trip?
I just like driving myself, because I know my life is in my hands. I will take care of it.
Oh my God!
I'll take care of it better than trusting other people.
I mean, so if you're driving and you hear kiki, you can still park and check your car.
You cannot park.
How do you want to park on air?
Even in the middle of water. Please, I will always love my road trips.
Oh my God. Anyways, even though you know, you hear flying remains the safest means, but of course it's accidents.
Where did that come from? Flying remains the safest. I hear it a lot too.
From the
And I give them a second
from
look.
the originators.
Are you whining me? Should I whine me?
Oh my God. Whether flying, whether driving, whether on the sea, this is where we just call on God.
Yes,
God, just take control. Let us land safely. Because honestly, like the Yorubas will say, there is no kekere irin ajo. It is when you
even
get
leaving
home
your
safely.
home to work every day.
Adebimpe, people stay in their homes and vehicles ram into them. So it is just the grace and mercy of God. You are standing at the bus stop waiting to board a bus or whatever, and a vehicle comes there, loses the brake, and something happens. So you never, I mean, it's just you know, we'll just continue to pray for the mercy of God. Right, you can go on the X platform this morning to take a further read on why Enugu Air is trending this morning. We'll take a quick break. When we return on the conversation, our first conversation will be here. Our guest, I understand, will be joining us via Zoom. And today we're looking, going into the world of fashion. I'm sure that you know that with women, fashion is another thing that, you know, women, maybe 5 and 6. For some, they'll tell you they don't like fashion, but maybe they should say they don't like extreme fashion. Because I'm not sure there's really no woman that doesn't like fashion. If you wear clothes, well, some people don't wear jewelry. But of course, if you wear clothes, a lot of people now beat their clothes. They accessorize their fabrics.
Is that extreme? Is that extreme fashion?
It's not. It can be extreme, though.
Do you like beading your clothes?
I'm not a fan.
So you've never done it on any of your clothes?
Maybe a fabric that has come beaded. But that I will carry the fabric after sewing it. And kind of,
I used to like it a lot. But these days,
isn't it heavy?
No, I found out that I couldn't pray in those clothes anymore. Okay. Because when you try to kneel down,
your legs, yes, your knees will hurt.
And it starts to hurt your knees.
Yeah, your knees.
So I just stopped it completely. It wasn't convenient anymore.
I'm not a fan of beads. I stone sparingly if I need to. I'll probably just do what you have on.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's, yeah. But anyways, I guess to join us on the... as you help us understand better how these things are done, you know, and when fashion can actually be fashion or when fashion can be extreme. I guess to join us in a bit after the break.